Hi, I'm Barbara Levin, Executive Director of NF Mid-Atlantic. We're a 36-year-old nonprofit agency, oldest in the world, with the sole function of educating, making people aware of, and supporting people who have the disorder neurofibromatosis. I don't want to go on because it is my distinct pleasure. I'm so excited about introducing Michael OConnell, who has spent more than 5 years as a professional comedian. He's spent longer as a person, I've been told. He works as a solo act, stand-up or sit-down comedy, and he works with two other comedy groups, the Comedians with Disabilities and the Mics. He's a writer, he's a producer, he produces shows, he does podcasts, which are available to you on iTunes. And he says, and I'm going to quote him here, I take the whole wheelchair aspect of my life and turn it into funny with a little education thrown in as a bonus. We'll be the judge of that. The Comedians with Disabilities is made up of Michael O'Connell, little person Steve Danner, blind comic, although I had blind comic, Eric Me, and a comedian who stutters, Nina G. So, Michael, welcome.
Well, thank you. Appreciate you having me.
Oh, we're so delighted. Firstly, tell me what you'd add to that bio.
Wow, that's a pretty complete bio there.
We do our best when stealing from your website.
No, that about covers it. I guess I must have put all the right info on my website.
Apparently.
I will add that the full name of the group is the Comedians with Disabilities Act.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Which
I
is a play.
apologize.
No, that's usually, but it's a play off the Americans with Disabilities Act.
Of
So
course.
that's where we kind of went with the name on that.
Well, that
Which we are just yesterday, I think, was our 4th anniversary.
wow. Oh, that's wonderful. And you
Yeah,
do a very
so
funny riff. And we're going to play one of at the end of our talk, we're going to play one of your video clips. But you do a very funny riff about how you're the one on the sign. So, I mean, who's the big dog here? But because you are in a wheelchair, which
yeah,
we wouldn't necessarily know here because right now you're just much larger than I am.
that's
Um,
right.
well, tell me, thank you for telling me. Was it a special occasion yesterday that it was your 4th anniversary or just one of those notable dates?
One of those notable dates. I mean, the Comedians with Disabilities Act were kind of spread around the state,
Mm-hmm.
and we get together for performances. So we didn't get together or anything. We just communicated online.
Oh,
But we've got a last thing we did together. We just recorded our first comedy album. So
really? Oh,
we
that's
come out
wonderful.
hopefully April.
That is great. Well, we
Yeah,
definitely we want to know when that happens and we want to
sure.
promote it
Should be good
because
stuff.
you are very funny. The other guys, no, I'm kidding. You're all very funny. But of course, since we have you, you are the funniest. But I
Okay,
just want
I'm
to
okay
mention
with
that.
that.
Yeah, I figure. Um, when you now, what I'd like to do is talk about the process. We have people of all stripes who are interested in a comedian's life. When did you decide to be a comedian?
It was a complete accident.
Really?
It's not something I planned on or dreamed about or anything else. Just over 5 years ago, a friend of mine, who unfortunately passed recently, but he called me up one day and said, "Hey, why don't we go try open mic night, stand-up comedy?" And
Wow.
I said, "Okay." And then I went, and we both prepared for about a month for our 5 minutes of material, and we just agonized over it and bounced stuff off each other, and then we both tried comedy the same night, and I ended up winning the competition that first night,
Oh, that's
and
amazing.
just realized I've been missing something huge in my life, and that's all I've been doing ever since.
Wow. And I should mention, and I didn't, that you are out of California primarily.
It's Sacramento.
Yes. And you said the other not the mics. The mics are all in Sacramento. Is that right?
Almost all of us. One of us went and moved to Dallas,
The nerve.
but that complicates things a little for the mics. But we're working on that.
Yeah.
But no, the Comedians with Disabilities Act. There's two of us, myself and Eric, me, who just became a father
Oh,
a handful of
congratulations.
days ago. We're here in Sacramento, and we've got Nina G, who's in the Oakland area,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got Steve Danner in wine country in Napa.
Oh, well,
So
what a
we
pity
book
for
our
him.
gigs. We book our gigs, ahead of time, and everybody plans around it, and so.
Oh, that's great. Now, do you work through an agent or are you self-represented?
No, we are self-represented. We're pretty good doing our own promotion and things of that sort, getting our own gigs. So we're pretty self-contained.
Oh, that's great. It's is it an easy life, or I've always thought it would be a hard life?
No, it's not. It is, but that's part of the appeal. It's part of the joy of it, the process,
Yeah,
grind of the whole thing, and trying to book jobs at places and trying to get people to show up to see your show, and dealing with the media and trying to get yourself on radio or TV to promote your show and
sure.
all this stuff. It's I don't know if every comedian loves it, but for the life of me, I don't know why I love that part of it.
That's
I love the stress, the work, and all that stuff, and that's what got me more into producing
hmm
as well as stand-up comedy because I like putting a show together. So it's a lot of fun.
Is is there a difference when you're performing as opposed to doing something like a podcast? Do you use the same material?
No, it's different because the material for being on stage is meant to be interactive.
hmm
That's all timed out and written for an audience.
Yes.
So there's that. Now, when it comes to podcast, that's just me saying whatever. There's no interactive part.
hmm
So that's I don't write anything for the podcast. I just freewheel it.
Uh, is that
But all
supposed
the
to be a
stuff on
pun?
stage, the trick is to make it look like it's not written, but it all is. So
Okay, we won't
it's,
tell.
I,
Um,
I call
so
that the illusion of stand-up. That's your job up there is to make it look completely natural, like you're just making this stuff up as you go.
that's great. Now, t- uh, tell us a little more about the other process. I mean, actually, you said everything's written. You get up in the morning. Are you just, pardon me for this absolutely trite question, are you
Sure.
just naturally funny? Do you get up in the morning and start writing jokes, or is it hard work?
It is, and it's. I don't quite have the discipline of sitting down and writing jokes and new material. I just do it sporadically.
hmm
I get a lot of my funny urges out on Twitter and things like that, and you try doing that, and then occasionally that'll turn into jokes, and
Yeah.
so. But it's very chaotic. My part of it. And I
And
think that's what the same with a lot of creative people. We love to be structured and do this on this time and all this, but usually it's wait till the mood strikes and yeah.
have are there enough venues now for for the physical comedy actually going and giving your comedy shows? I mean, maybe because I'm getting older, I'm at home all the time. I mean, I just like being home all the time, and I think I'm interacting if I'm talking to someone on Skype. But um, there, you do you stay around the Sacramento area? Do you find yourself traveling a lot? What is it?
Well, that's the great thing about Sacramento. It does have a pretty good assortment, a large assortment of venues. There's
Great.
four different comedy clubs in
Really?
town, and then that doesn't even count the comedy rooms, the open mic rooms, the regular showcases in cafes and things like that. There's
Yeah.
always somewhere in Sacramento to do comedy, so and it's a
Wow.
wonderful, wonderful group of comedians here. So I'll often just go just to watch my fellow comedians work because they're amazing.
Oh,
But with the Comedians with Disabilities Act, we do tend to travel. We do a lot of Bay Area shows down there by Oakland, San Francisco, and things of that sort. We got another San Francisco thing coming up soon, and we've been off to Memphis, New York.
wow.
Can't remember what the other one is coming up next year. But yeah, there's a demand for
Oh,
that
that's
group.
good. I was going to ask. And again, if you're self-promoting and doing this yourself, this isn't easy. I mean, it's a matter of being on top of things and always looking out for what the next thing is.
Always promoting, always getting the word out, and wonderful thing when people can just find you and hear about it online, and we don't generally have to go out looking for jobs. They find us, which is
That's
a
great.
rare thing in comedy.
Oh, and that's
So
wonderful. It,
that's the nice thing about the Comedians with Disabilities Act. I mean, it's a different type of thing.
hmm hmm
It's something that's unique, and it really suits a lot of different types of benefit shows and educational shows, and not just the traditional stand-up. So we're in higher demand. That's nice.
That's fabulous.
Yeah,
And California must be a very funny state.
it really
If you
is.
um, if you do so many of your shows around there.
Yeah,
How um, now the Comedians with Disabilities Act, there's four of you.
that's right.
They're out in the world. There's Josh Blue. I don't know a lot of other um, p- uh, people that comedians that bill themselves as differently abled. Or
Uh,
am I just missing things?
they're out there. They're just not necessarily that upper tier
hmm
up there. Josh is definitely the one that people know of.
Well, you
But
got a
there's
lot
other
of
guys.
press.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean, I know a lot of other more local California people,
hmm hmm
some of which we work with. We have, whenever we do shows with the Comedians with Disabilities Act, we like to, wherever we're at city, or we try to find a guest, disabled comic in that area to come be a guest on our show. So
Oh,
there's some regulars that we work with,
that's
like
nice.
Steve Lee, very funny
hmm
young man, Queenie TT, she's one of our regulars too. So whenever we're in the Bay, but we've had some good times with Jerry Jewell, who
Well,
was
yes,
very
yes.
Facts of Life years ago, one of the first big regular appearing roles for a disabled person on TV. We did a benefit show in LA at the Laugh Factory with her as our headliner, as our guest headliner,
That's
and
great.
she was amazing.
Yeah. Oh, she's very
Yeah,
funny. Is it a different experience when you're working with the mics? Because the mics, you are the one person. Well, in both your acts, in all three of your acts, including your solo show, you're the one
I,
person in the wheelchair. Um, is it a different feel?
it is. I have to do a little more work in my solo stuff and with the mics to
hmm
make the audience comfortable with the idea of someone in a wheelchair telling them jokes. They're kind of a little afraid. Should I laugh? Should I not laugh?
Really?
Uh, Whereas when you have a Comedians with Disabilities Act show, there's no surprises. They know what they're
Right.
getting into when they buy the tickets. So people are much more, you get past that hump right away. You can just start telling jokes. But I got to do a little more kind of breaking the ice with people in the other shows, and that's fine. That's part of what I do. And that's part of the fun.
Interesting. Is there one you prefer over the? I don't, and we won't tell the others.
They're really, I hate to sound diplomatic, but I really love working with both. There's
Oh,
different thrills and different great parts about each one in different ways. The Mike's is much more, oh god, much more rowdy.
yeah.
Uh, you got a bunch of regular comics. We've got some really high energy people in that thing, so it's really a rowdy thing, and that's fun. But Comedians with Disabilities Act, I mean, just really really funny, smart people
hmm
working together, and
hmm
that's I love the part that there's a message with what we do there
Yeah.
that we pass it on. So
I
it's not.
appreciate the fact that you have that there's a female comedian in
Uh,
that group too, because they're rather underrepresented too, if, as much as I can tell.
yeah, I definitely agree, especially stuttering
hmm
female comedians.
Yes.
What Nina is. I said that we just had our 4 year anniversary.
Uh-huh.
Technically, not a 4 year anniversary. We had one show with just the three guys. Nina had not joined us yet.
Ah.
And we did a show at the Punchline in San Francisco, our second show, which was 4 years ago. And she joined us for a guest set. And she just brought the house down. And we just knew this is what's missing in our group.
Oh,
So
that's
we
great.
consider that the official anniversary when Nina first joined us.
Oh,
So, yeah.
that's very dear.
Yeah.
That's very sweet. So so again, going back, you everything has a little different feel between doing a solo show, doing things with the mics, doing things with the almost said Americans with Disability Act, Comedians with Disability Act, and podcasts, and for a time there, weren't you considering doing some television?
There was an opportunity going on there.
Mm-hmm.
I got that. This is what we refer to in comedy as the Hollywood call that everyone dreams of. So I had a studio call me up and want me to do a screen test for an upcoming TV show. Unfortunately, I can't talk more about it because I'm legally contracted
No problem.
that I have to shut up. But it's like, I don't know if it's going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that started, and it's like, well, then the network didn't necessarily want to go forward with the pilot, so they're shopping it to another network, and
Yeah.
it's all Hollywood. But no, it was a fun experience getting to go down there and get wined and dined and do the whole Hollywood thing. And
Oh, of course.
it's a lot of fun. There are opportunities out there.
Who would have thought it 5 years ago, huh?
Yeah, and that's the amazing part. I was an unemployed auto claims adjuster.
Well, that's funny.
Yeah, and I don't know where the new life started. So you never know. That's what I love about life. You never know when just one thing, one moment will happen that'll just change everything.
I'll bet you actually got a lot of material out of doing auto claims.
Yeah, and it's funny. I haven't really used it.
Really?
I've been so focused on my niche, which is the wheelchair thing. Because I'm just like, okay, because as I said earlier in that quote, I'm both entertaining and educating people.
Yeah.
So I really like that part to talk about the wheelchair and the disability issues. So a lot of my stuff ends up being that. And it just occurred to me recently saying I was an auto claims adjuster for 13 years. I can't believe I haven't used that yet.
Oh,
so I'm working on that.
It's because it's funny.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. One of the cutest things you do is just a sight gag when you're photographed in front of the universal sign for disabled parking, and you're just like, you've got the best expression on your face. It's just like you can see every ounce of frustration that every person with a disability must go through. It's unbelievable.
I think you're talking about that photo with me in front of the no access sign.
Right.
That was the one where I'm just kind of doing this, like, and that was
It was great.
That picture for that reason. That just kind of summed up the frustrations. And that's something else you have to deal with as a disabled comic. Most places, stage-wise, not going to be wheelchair accessible.
I was going to ask you about that. I mean, it's something that your colleagues in the Comedians with Disabilities Act don't have to really traverse, and it's something that you want attention. That's not the kind of attention you want being carried up on a stage or whatever, and everything, having to check if something is accessible. I know everything's supposed to be accessible. California will always be, I shouldn't talk about this, but California will always be very dear to my heart because they have that law that has universal toilet seat covers. So I think, you cannot beat California.
Yeah.
So, but as far as disabled access, adaptability
are all disabled access to the clubs, just not the stages.
Yeah.
So, and that's something else I do. There's just little things you learn along the way. Like, yes, I do have to have people carry me up onto the stage, lift me up on those steps or whatever there is to there. And it's a very important trick to know. I always tell people do this carefully when I'm being introduced, because you need the uphill microphone, otherwise it gets weird. It gets awkward for the audience, and suddenly the applause stops and they're still trying to get me up there.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Are your audiences? We're having a little connection problem just for a second, but it was funny. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Oh, good. Okay. Because I was noticing a little flutter. Your audiences, are they are they primarily abled or differently abled? Or are there times that you just have differently abled audiences?
When it comes to the Comedians with Disabilities Act, good representation of disabled people there.
Mm-hmm.
In there, we'll see. Other shows, not so much. My personal shows and my mic shows, it's mostly just able-bodied people in there. So that's why the sort of jokes and the delivery and the timing, things have to change
Sure.
because it's a different audience. I can't
Sure.
tell you what a pleasure it was the first time I was doing a show with the Comedians with Disabilities Act and realized there were like, I lost count, maybe about a dozen wheelchairs out there. And they
Wow.
were actually getting my jokes and saying, yes, I've been through that kind of a thing. I
Oh,
don't
that's
normally
great.
get to that audience. I'm usually explaining things to them. So that's a lot of fun when that happens.
Oh, that's and interesting because it's a whole different tenor in the way you have to do things. So, anyway, this is really exciting. Do you think there's something I wrote down because I thought it was important to ask. I have to actually read it. Excuse me. Um,
Okay.
have you noticed in the last 5, 6 years that uh, people with disabilities, the representation, are you still the token person in a wheelchair, or has it increased?
um, it's all going to depend on the area that you're in.
Hmm.
I don't know if it's increased. I think one of the things we've done with the Comedians with Disabilities Act is that we are bringing those people together, so making people more aware that we're out there. But otherwise, it's about the same. I think we only had one other local comic showed up recently in a wheelchair. And that
Really?
was the first new one since I've been doing it in the Sacramento, Northern California area.
Wow.
There's a couple other wheelchair comics in Northern Cal. I'm the only one in Sacramento until this new kid came along. And so they're
Copycat.
not huge numbers have increased, but we're really opening that door. I think there will be more.
That's
That's another thing I like to do with our shows. When we have so many people in wheelchairs or with other situations, that they may get that seed planted going, well, if they can do it, maybe I should give it a try.
oh, that's
And
great.
that would be great as long as they're not doing any of my jokes. That's all I
Good.
ask.
I know. Not an easy thing to
No
accomplish.
stealing my material.
Oh man. Um, so before we do show what one of your clips, and it'll be a solo clip
Mm-hmm.
because you're here and we're prejudiced about that. Um, what's next? What's your next gig? It is now February 4th. We'll be showing this soon. What's coming up for you all?
Well, it's been a tough time. I've just spent the last it's been since November, I guess,
Wow.
since I've done anything because I've been going through some medical challenges and a couple of surgeries and a bout with pneumonia, and I'm still recovering from my last hospital stay here.
And none of
So I
that's
haven't been out
funny.
doing any comedy. The next thing I have booked is not until is it March or April now. I'm so lost. But the thing with the Comedians with Disabilities Act, we're
That's
doing it's part of a really cool art gallery exhibit thing on disabled art.
oh, that's
And
great.
one of the things set up, it's interesting how they're doing this. They're putting up photos of each of us, and they're
Okay,
playing audio from our comedy album
that's
with it.
great.
So we will be attending that event, the grand opening of that.
Oh,
And then we're going to have a couple in May. We're going to have a couple of CD release parties in Oakland and Sacramento, but nothing booked definitely yet. I've been under the radar here, and it's been very difficult for me to unplug from that.
oh,
I
I'm
found
sure.
out when I did this, I said, okay, I've had heart issues and heart surgeries and everything going on.
Hmm.
I said, let's take all the stress out. I'll just relax and maybe watch some movies for a change or whatever. And oh, it was so hard to do. It
Oh,
took me a good week or two before I stopped feeling guilty about it because I just wanted to write press releases or, put the material together or be contacting radio stations and all the stuff I usually do. So
oh, I'm
uh,
sure.
I think it's been a good break. And now that I'm starting to get physically back to where I was, I'm going to be jumping back on it pretty soon here.
Yeah, you'll have all this new material because
Yeah.
hospital
Every
stays are
hospital stay is a
so
gold
funny.
material.
Yes.
Love it.
Yeah, the food alone you
Yeah,
could go on about.
that's right.
Well, that's great. I was going to let you get off at that point, but you provoked another question, and you
Yeah.
said, "So you write all your own press releases and all that. Where did you learn how to do that?"
You just learn along the way. I've always been a writer
Hmm.
in one way or another, so it's pretty simple for me to just get online and just find a webpage about how to write press releases
That's
and
great.
look at the press releases and look at the format and
Hmm.
other tips and people that have done them, and I just started doing it and it started getting easier
Oh,
with time.
that's
That's the great thing
wonderful.
about the internet age. Look it up. I mean, that's how I
Oh,
find newspapers and radio stations and contact people for promotion things. And I run a whole comedy empire from this desk I'm
yeah.
sitting at. I
Wow.
rarely have to leave the house for it.
That's great.
Yeah,
That's great. And it's and you're touching a lot of people.
I hope so.
Yeah. You are, and it's fabulous. And we're so appreciative, and I'm so excited to let people see just a little snippet of what you do. And I just want them to get a taste because whether they're in California or they're wherever, they're going to have to find you and they're
Okay,
going to have to listen to you.
yeah,
So,
I'm all for that.
hey, so are we. So, we are, I'm going to say goodbye to you.
Okay,
The rest of our audiences will see you. And all we can say is good luck and thank you for not giving us any remarkably stupid jokes. So we appreciate
okay,
it. Okay. Thank you,
that's been a
Michael.
pleasure. Thank you.
Michael O'Connell.
People get a little uncomfortable around you when you're in a wheelchair, and that's natural. We're used to that. It takes a little time. I think one of the reasons why people are uncomfortable is when you meet someone in a wheelchair, you don't really know what they're in the wheelchair for. So just to get that out of the way, I have muscular dystrophy, otherwise known as MD. You might have seen our telethon around Labor Day. Jerry Lewis telethon, anyone? Over the years, you might have maybe called in, pledged some money, hopefully, to that telethon. I hope. If you did, thank you very much. I sincerely want to thank you for that on a personal level, because that's my Escalade parked outside. So see it out there? I got the 20-inch, the chrome spinners on that. What did you think we spent the money on? Guys, 40 years of telethons and no cure? Come on. How many purchases do you think we can buy? Yes, we're doing research with your money. I got a timeshare on the Big Island, guys. Jerry's kids get paid.